Let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Where the Iranian regime is
tie you to the back of the car.
Just keep hanging black people. So
it's not even the same. I could accept.
Oh no! Wait! That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit into Iran and killed for
I'm sorry.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Do you believe that nonsense? Do you believe the shit that was coming from Whoopi Goldturd's mouth there? That gob of hers with those big lips? Really? She's stuck in an 1850s mindset, thinking that blacks are still being lynched in America. That hasn't happened for 170 years, and this broad will not let it go, huh? And the same thing with the gays. You know, basically saying that, well, they're still being tied to cars and dragged to their deaths. No, but that's not happened since the days of Matthew Shepard. She's basing those judgments on the actions of a few. And how dare she do that? How dare she do something like that? Yes, it's me, the Robozoid. You're semi-likable and occasionally tolerable curmudgeon of both Rumble and YouTube. And I have no tolerance for Whoopi Goldturd. And I have no tolerance for her behavior. Wasn't she already suspended from ABC for these kind of remarks? Does she learn nothing? Of course she learns nothing. Those dreadlocks are on too tight. Well, maybe someone ought to rip them out by the roots, one at a time, because apparently this woman obviously didn't learn a damn thing. Now, the footage that you just saw in the intro, that actually comes from about, 8 months ago. But still, this was obviously after her suspension. But did she learn anything from that? Did that time off allow her to grow or change or actually find out something different about how society is treated today? No, she just rebooted. So quite frankly, you're going to hear from an actual woman who did live under the boot of the Iranian regime of the Ayatollah Khomeini, and someone who really does have has an understanding of exactly what went on. And she had lived through it since she was a little kid in 1979, when the peanut farmer Jimmy Carter, the left's favorite president, overthrew the Shah and introduced Ayatollah Khomeini. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Oh, what it's like to live under the Iranian regime. If these comparisons are at all valid, and frankly, they're just not.
Iranian American McDowell's
attorney and
there.
activist whose family fled Iran following the 1979 Islamic Revolution, Elika Laban, joins us now. Elika, thank you for being here. It's such a dishonorable comment, not only to the United States and what we are, but also to those thousands of people who've been murdered by that regime. I mean, it's just, it makes a ridicule of what their lives stood for and what their families have gone through. What does it make you feel when you know what actually you can make a real comparison between the two countries?
You know, what it really speaks to now more than anything else is this mass collective delusion that we are living in. We're living in a country that provides us so much safety, so much privilege, so much comfort that people don't even know what it's like to live in other parts of the world. And because, you know, the world has been saturated with so much disinformation, this disinformation that was heightened particularly after October 7th, where there was this narrative that, you know, these terrorists are just freedom fighters and they're not that bad. It normalized this idea that actually
and Whoopi Goldturd fell for that because she's a complete idiot.
That different to the United States. Then you have people who are living in the lap of luxury saying things like living in the United States is exactly the same as living in Iran. Well, it's not anything like living in Iran, because Iran, they are hanging people from cranes statistically once every 6 hours. Just 2 weeks ago, they amputated 2 people's arms because they were accused of theft. Did they have due process? Did they have fair trials? No, that does not exist under the Islamic regime in Iran. When protesters came out in the streets to protest against this regime, which is our unequivocal right under the Constitution in the United States, did they get met with the same treatment? No, they were shot to death and they had their eyes shot out as punishment.
Damn.
So my response is, how dare you, how dare anybody compare the life that they're fortunate enough to live in the United States to what Iranian people are going through now and have been going through for the past 46 years.
Well, look, I'll also remind people that Whoopi Goldberg, this was a little more than 3 years ago, and she said it more than once, the Holocaust is not about race. It was not about race. The Holocaust was not about race. She said, you couldn't tell who was Jewish. She kept repeating that.
And she appropriated a Jewish name.
See my race. But, you know, if you see somebody walking down the street, you don't know if they're a Jew or not. And she was suspended by ABC, but she kept repeating the same thing over and over again. She said it was about man's inhumanity to man, not about race. So, but this kind of ignorance, and this is willful ignorance, really permeates the left. And it is hard to be online and see some of the garbage people have said about Iran, in its defense.
Oh, absolutely. And as somebody who came from the left, you really have to ask these questions. Okay, if you're safe because people don't know that you're a Jew, what happens when they find out? What happens when they find out? So if you're saying that visibility is equal to unsafety, then the only cure you're offering these people is that they should hide themselves. You're saying you're absolutely fine because so long as nobody knows you're a Jew, you'll be safe. Then you shouldn't practice your religion openly. You shouldn't have you shouldn't wear anything that denotes that you might be of that faith. And in fact, they did have access to know exactly who the Jews were in Nazi Germany. They obviously have documents. They obviously have names. They obviously have passports and birth certificates. And that is exactly why it was a Holocaust at that time. And ironically, it is the same thing that they are bringing to the Western world today, because by disseminating this propaganda that is so pro authoritarians and terrorists, just because they happen to be the ones that are fighting Jews, right? People are now rallying behind the most dangerous and authoritarian regimes in the world just because of this impulse of anti-Semitism that they have in them. And that is exactly what happened in Nazi Germany. They voted for the party that promised to go against Jews, and they brought in a dictatorship. And that's exactly what they're going to do if they keep going down this line.
The lady that you just heard from on the Fox Business Channel, of course, her name is Elika Van. And, well, she's one of those that was held victim for so many years under the brutal regime and totalitarian rule of the Ayatollah Khomeini. The reason why? Because, again, the peanut farmer overthrew the Shah of Iran, who was, well, maybe not a benevolent dictator, but honestly, he didn't pose any threat to America, but Jimmy Carter wanted to destroy this country from within. So he overthrew the Shah and reintroduced Ayatollah Khomeini from France. So, yeah, her people lived under the same type of oppression that most Iranian women were living under during that regime, particularly. I mean, she was probably arrested and beaten a lot of times. I mean, as you've already heard from her, men were basically arrested and had their hands cut off, their fucking arms cut off, just for burglary. That's how strict they were. And of course, one woman was actually hanged from a crane in public view under the Iranian regime of the Ayatollah Khomeini. But of course, Whoopi Goldturd, whatever you want to call her, basically compares the treatment of blacks in America and gays in America to exactly what women are being treated like in Iran, or were up until right now. Has this woman ever been to Iran? You know, I'm talking about Whoopi Goldturd. Has she ever even been to Iran? Does she know how the women were actually treated? No, she doesn't! But I have a friend who is from Iran, who was born in Iran, whose mother was actually arrested for exposing her neck. So, you know what? Whoopi Goldturd doesn't know a goddamn thing about the treatment of women in Iran. She doesn't know anything about what really happened. Does Whoopi Goldbond have any experience? No. She's just another dumb celebrity shooting her mouth off. You know, she should have learned the lessons from Gene Simmons when he said, "Shut your pie hole." You know, you are a rich woman living behind a gated community, predominantly white, I'm sure, and predominantly Jewish, and yet she's a known anti-Semite who appropriated a Jewish name and, of course, changed her name from Karen Johnson to Whoopi Goldberg, only because she was just you know, she's very much like the whoopee cushion she named herself after. She's full of hot air. And so honestly, she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. She's just another dumb celebrity shooting her mouth off about shit she doesn't understand. And quite frankly, she should apologize profusely to Iranian women who have actually really suffered at the hands of Ayatollah Khomeini. I mean, Whoopi doesn't understand any of this shit. But of course they do, because the Iranian women, one I know in particular, who actually did. This has been the Robozoid saying, I hope that you have learned something from this video as much as you enjoyed it. And if you did, well, then smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and above all else, just remember, of course, wokeness is weakness. And what else should I say? I mean, obviously, you got Whoopi Goldturd, who learns nothing, even from her suspension, when she compared, when she said the Holocaust was all about race. Yeah, right. It was actually all about religion. God, but someone needs to rip her dreadlocks out one at a time. And ABC, if you have any common sense at all, you'll fire the bitch right now. That's all it takes. Get rid of her. She's a nuisance and a liability.